and the other ones weren't.
And the only thing to make sure is like in a very strong, is the check gets higher. You add 4, so there's a total of 6, and then they also have surprise attack. So like, oh sweet, swag, we're back.
Sorry, awesome, yeah.
That's cool. That's fun.
So what was I saying?
You were telling us about, or I was asking you about like managing the creatures and like how that was kind of going for you.
Oh yeah, so like as a singer, like the beginning of the song was always the sketchiest part of the song for me, because I was always like kind of like not confident in myself and like whether I'm going to remember the words to the song. Am I going to sing the right notes? Am I going to do this correctly? And then as soon as I started to like kind of like zone into the moments and like kind of become part of whatever it was that I was presenting, I would then become comfortable, and it was almost like, I don't want to leave now. I want to keep doing this. I want to keep singing for them, you know, by myself on the stage. I like it. Give it to me. That's how I felt about DMing.
I got so much dopamine in my brain right now.
It was like, oh my God, the crystal drakes. I'm like, and then it like, I felt like this warm blanket, like, okay, you know what you're doing. Like, let's do this, you know? And I still had my sketchy moments, you know, where it was, creating an NPC and presenting that to the players and making sure that I didn't fuck up like the storyline for them, so that when they were introduced to these characters later on, that it was like I didn't do the right job of how to present that character.
Right. Cool. Yeah, I always find that for me, sometimes the beginning of the adventures where I get a little bit rocky.
Yeah.
And kind of, because that's where I'm kind of fishing to identify the players.
I mean, yeah.
And then definitely like the first combat, that's where you see like, okay, like who's cheeseball and like who's...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And you're trying to see like who's trying to max out the play here and who's like really just trying to like sit back and have fun and role play their character.
Did you find that your party was like... Was there a lot of diversity in character builds, or
there was?
Okay.
I mean, there was a lot of Warforges at my table, a lot of Warforges. But the way how some of them played it differently. Okay. Some of them were different. I had a changeling at my table who one of my NPCs was trying to appeal to, like, brother, you know, like, come on, you know, we're good. And then the other player, and the player was like, don't fucking call me brother. You're a liar, and like, and I'm like,
that's classic.
Come on, yeah, exactly. And he's like, come on, like, and like, I still was like trying to be like overly nice, like, come here, I trust you. I want to make sure that you know the truth, you know, and stuff like that. So, and they played it very well. They were like, kind of like, I don't know, and they rolled really low, and I'm like, there's no reason for you to not believe them. And he's like, yeah, I guess. Something still tells me he's full of shit, and then we're gonna be back here to see you. And I was like, yeah, fair enough.
That's so funny. Oh, I see. So that was the first part, or the first like salvage board quest.
Right, the first bill.
So the second bill, the beauty of death.
That one you deal with. Yes, that one you're going in as a salvager to help out and get some payment from the Silver Flame Church.
Okay. Chapel of the Silver Flame.
Yes, I call it the church because it's just. I mean, it's what it is.
The building of the Silver Flame.
And so, like, you have to. Now, this is where, you know, when you find, when you were talking about derailing and it kind of like you having to like reel everybody back into the storyline and what's going on. This is where I found that challenge. Okay. Because the story is that one of the mothers calls them in to like help her find this relic. And she left one of the alkalites to watch the relic, and when she goes into town to go do her shopping, the relic the guy that she put to watch is there, and he's like, you didn't make me watch that. And then she runs back, and everyone else that's there at the chapel is like, yeah, we saw homie have something wrapped up in his arms and take off. And like, she's confident that her alkalite that she has now is not the person that took it. and is the real one, and that the other one is the changeling that she would believe.
So this is a really strong role playing segment. When you're trying to figure out who the thief is.
Yes, and so and this is also the reason why I didn't want to go to order is because this sends you into an area that you have to kind of go into that leads into the last part.
Okay. So
that's why I was kind of like, I'm not skilled enough as a DM to know how to like break that if someone wants to go out of order, you know? Like I can't, I'm not good enough. So not yet. And so with this, she's like, no, you don't need to talk to my acolyte. He's busy. I'm telling you the truth that this is what it is. And everyone's like, we want to talk to that acolyte. And I'm like, I have my ways of knowing the truth. And I'm telling you right now, and they're like, well, isn't the arrow of truth? And isn't that what you need? So how do you have your way of telling the truth? And I'm like, I don't really need to tell you that because I don't really know, you know? But I'm like, you know, we have our ways here at the church. You could trust that. And they were like, we want to talk to him. And I was like, mother of fucks. All right, fine. We'll go talk to him. And so I go talk to him, and I'm like, and I tell the group, I'm like, you ask him, he tells you exactly what you told her, and like and he's like, I mean, I'm sorry guys, like this is all there really is. And they're like, come on, like now that she's not here, like, are you lying? Like, is there something else that you know? Like, is there something you're leaving out? And they're like, no, I promise you. And everyone would roll, and I'm like, he's telling you the absolute truth.
I know that frustration of being a DM, and
I've seen Sebastian do it us.
You give the players a very like, this is your direction, right? And they're like, they want to go in reverse and question like
everybody, and you're like, no.
Hold on a second. Is that actually the direction? Let me speak to your father. And you speak to the father, and he goes, this is the direction. And they're like, let me speak to the mother. That's the direction. The cat. Let me speak to the cat. I must converse with the key.
Because there's a forest gnome in the party who can speak to cats.
I want to speak to a squirrel. Same direction. He might be lying.
Sometimes it helps, though.
I don't believe him.
I have had modules where talking to like the fucking rabbit is like definitely because you rolled high enough to be like, yeah, the rabbit knows something, you know, and this is what it saw, and that's about it. And that's all the information I can give you that helps.
Still going. Or one
not
of my
squirrel, goats.
One of my favorites is player parties will be like, okay, here's the plan. We're going to murder everyone. And then play it off like we're good guys and collect the money. And you're like, wait, what? And then they're like, yeah, so we beat up Grandpa. And then they leave and come back and they're like, Grandpa, we want money now. And Grandpa's like, no, you beat me up. And they're like, I don't agree with with your reasoning. Like, what?
Well, and it was me. So Fritz has been doing the Illisand storyline with a like 9 to 13-year-old girl and a blind goat, and we just had the like culmination of that adventure last night. And he's taking up the Xanathar's Guide spell to be able to cast his temple every day for 365 days in the same spot, so he can have a temple to this goat and be part of this entire thing. My chat has been blowing up from like 10 o'clock last night until 10 o'clock this morning about this goat temple that he's working on building and recruiting people.
That is so... Katie's trying to do the same thing. She's like, I'm building a religion, but I'm the god. And I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, so I want to go to a poor... I want to go and I want to collect all of the orphans. I'm like, they're not Pokemon. You don't collect orphans. She's like, well, I want some orphans. I'm like, there are none here. I was like, can we make some? No, Katie, we can't make orphans. Well, can't we, though? I guess. Like, it's a part of my religion. I'm like, yes, you can do that as much as you'd like.
Well, then what sucked also about this part is that they don't tell you what the fuck the relic is for. They're like, it's a relic.
It's just a relic.
And so, like, what I end up doing is I found someone in the group that was like, okay, you know that that mother, her name was Mother Johanna, that you find out that she actually is only here because there's rumors that she got into a fight with another father of the chapel, and from the main headquarters they sent her out here as a punishment. And like, for all you know, this relic is nothing, but if she loses it, she knows she's going to get in even bigger trouble. So the relic doesn't really matter. It's more of the punishment that's involved, but she knows that what will happen, the repercussions that'll happen if she just doesn't get this back.
That's fair. And
so they were like, oh, okay. And so that's how I pushed it. And then there's all this stuff. This is where a bunch of the players are that you like. This part right here is really filled with the characters that are going to be involved in the later modules of the storyline.
Okay.
You meet Whist, Drave, Zodar. So those are going to be important names to remember later on when playing. The Dolgrims. You then come across a Dolgrim, a corpse sculpture, and the corpse sculpture is this scorpion made of bodies, and you see someone important at one point sewed on into this thing, and at the very tip of its tail is the spear of truth that you're supposed to find, this relic.
Oh, got it. Okay.
And so you don't know what it was that the spear would make for that thing to like activate. I would assume the electricity from like some electric magic or something. I don't know. I'm sure you find out maybe later. Bro, I'm assuming it has to do with just being in the Moorland in general and the magic that's just there anyways, that's sitting.
The relic is just resonating like heavy metal, and the world around it is just being like, that's sick! Blah! Scorpion corpse, dead bodies! Blah! That's how I imagine it in my mind.
Pretty much. It's very heavy metal. And then, to top it off, this is the same part that starts to introduce the theme for the rest of the modules all across. You fucking better be careful where you light fire or electricity, because you're probably going to blow your group up if you're not paying attention. So that becomes a theme. And there's like giant cannons that you can have access to, but my group didn't even care for it. They're like, nah, fuck that. None of us are really going to be able to do anything with it, so we're just going to beat the shit out of all this. And this is the one where I knocked down, I think it was like 3 of them, right? I took down 3, but they popped back up because there was a cleric at least in the group and some healers. I can't remember. There was a couple of them that fucking went out. Josh being one of them.
Bro.
And so, I know.
I'm just reading this like blip where, or it's box text.
It's creepy as fuck, right?
Yeah, it's talking about like how the bodies are lashed together into a grotesque work of art.
Everyone had their own rendition. It had their own rendition of what they thought. You want to know what I thought of?
What?
The human centipede.
That's
what I thought of when. But
my favorite part is there's Dolgrims, right? And so it says like there's a pair of small mutated humanoids lurching around like this sculpture of bodies, poking the bodies with spears. And
yes.
It's like, oh, that's so crazy.
Do you know what a Dolgrim looks like too? Mm-mm. It's like this like goblin-y looking thing with like long ears, like a goblin with a big ass head, and then it's got 4 arms.
Gross.
So there's 2 of those that get dropped on top of the flesh corpse. So when you're doing that as a Dolgrim, you get I think it's 3 attacks, and they're fucking devastating.
They really do have 3 attacks.
Each one is devastating.
All I can say is that the CR does not match the amount of damage. Or, well, +4 to hit? Yeah, no, there's no way that this is a CR.
Their hit points are really low, so you can take them out, but it's really hard to hit their armor class for some reason.
13 HP still. Like, that's a lot. And it has a shield. That's why it only makes 3 attacks. 1 arm's only a shield.
Yeah.
Frick.
Yeah.
Morningstar, spear, and hand crossbow.
If it's had enough distance, it'd be able to use a hand crossbow. Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's fucking insane.
You can still, yeah.
And then when the corpse sculpture starts moving and it starts like, because now what's also happening is that it's fucking dark. And the only thing that's lighting anything every so often are like flickers of electricity because there's a thunderstorm.
Yeah.
So when someone in the group lit something and threw it like on the floor in an area to light up the corpse so that they could see it.
Oh,
or they were going to have like major disadvantages because not only that, then there's disadvantages if they end up rolling low on all these crazy terrain fucking DC saves.
That's awesome.
It's intense. They were sweating. I was sweating with them because this was when I started rolling fucking like stupid high rolls too.
So one thing about this encounter primarily, so it has a lot of elements actually. So first off, the terrain. It's muddy. It's pockmarked with spell craters from spells. Characters who attempt to hide have advantage on stealth checks against creatures that rely on sight. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. It's unlit and dark. And the area also contains a giant cannon. It is a rusted artillery unit, it no longer fires, but can still be used as an improvised weapon. You make an investigation check to notice that several structural pieces are messed up, and you can attempt to collapse the cannon. It's 50 feet long and 5 feet wide.
Bro, the fucking scaling on this shit is intense.
That's crazy. So, I mean, you can break down a giant cannon and try to, fall on people. That's cool. I like the way that they're using the terrain. And, I mean, if you, as a team, as a group of adventurers, if you just walk forward to fight it, mano-y-mano, you're way outmatched.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm telling you. I didn't do the aberrant ground at all. The first round, I missed gibbering.
Yeah.
And then I rolled it on the next round. I started the gibbering, so that became like a challenge on top of all the other stuff that was going on. But I left out aberrant ground because if I would have dropped aberrant ground on these guys, they would have fucking protested.
So it's just a gibbering mather modified?
Basically.
Yeah. It's exactly what it is.
I wish I would have known that. I had gibbering mathers on me.
The corpse sculpture is dope. I mean, one thing that I would tell you is that would you feel like being an unapologetic DM?
Oh, dude, you run it exactly as written.
Use it all. This multi-attack thing, use it all.
Oh, dude.
As
attack their
reference,
healers.
gibbering mouthers were used at PAX for the Acquisitions Incorporated.
Yes.
Yeah. Side hustle.
So
You ran that one, didn't you?
I did.
I remember that.
The gibbering mouther collected a lot of people.
Wasn't that one your favorite?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Can you please go to the sewers and return to me some stuff? Yes. You hear some noises. Oh, let's go investigate. You travel a bit further. You hear the noise get louder, and then it goes silent. I continue forward. You walk into an empty room. I investigate. Yes. From above you, a mass of blubberous dead. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Aberrant ground.
Oh, Commander, hello.
Welcome to the party. Welcome to the street.
So, yeah, this was the most challenging part of the module, I'd have to say. This was the most Rikers part.
Yeah, I can see
where
that.
So, another moment was I accidentally skipped a player. And right before, so I skipped a player, and I had hit Josh because it was supposed to be the player's turn, then my turn, and then someone else. Yeah. Well, I skipped that player and I played my character and it knocked out Josh. Then the player after the matter was like, "Hey, you skipped me," and I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, boom, go back." Fritz is laughing already, because he was listening to the whole thing. He was behind me, or to the side of me. So then the guy's like, "Well, then if that kills him, does that mean that Mickey, who was Josh's character, does that mean Mickey's dead?" And I was like, And I look at Josh, I was like,
Yeah.
would you have done that for me? And he's all,
I would not.
yes. Like he's all, like not as dramatic, but he was like you could see like him trying to say something and he knows he's about to like throw bullshit. And he's all, yes. And then
I'm imagining his
Fritz,
shit-eating grin.
yes. And then Fritz in the background's like, liar. And I was all, no, still down.
How did you manage initiative when you were
So originally I tried to do the DM board with the little clicker, with the little tents. I tried to do it because I thought that was going to be the easiest thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
It was not the easiest thing for me.
What'd you end up doing?
Here's my these are my notes. You could see like people's names right there, and then like each line is the initiative, and then where it's crossed off is where like it was the last initiative before that. So I made notes, and like you probably don't understand my notes. I don't understand my notes.
I'm assuming this is the HP pool.
Yes, this is it. You can see 67 right
Yeah.
there. Yeah, and it drops. You can see every hit that was done.
I keep saying I want these like DM sheets to be found by aliens or somebody like 200 years in the future where they're just like, I don't understand these notes. Is this code for some kind of like bomb that they're building or something?
Yeah. Were they money laundering with this? Like, what is this? What is number? Were they putting in bets on horses?
I thought I
what
saw
is
you
happening?
using these.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the tents.
I wanted to do the tents, but you want to know what my brain did?
What?
I put initiative in backwards.
Because I don't use the DM screen, so like I have a lot of fun with it because I'll be like, okay, and then I'll set it up from left. I always do my left to right, and then one thing that, because I will still run out of the wrong order, right? So what I have to do is I have to literally take their tent and then put it like far forward and be like, okay, and then I take it back and then I go to the next one, and that's the only way that I like.
No, I had a whole table of dudes, and they were all down to fucking make sure they had me on check on that one. They were like,
that's fair.
No, it was my turn. I'm like, okay, yeah. That's why when it went through and like a whole thing was done, like a whole like turn and all this shit was done, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, well, you missed me. It was like, okay, yeah, then go. I'm going to stop everybody else's turn for you to go. I'm sorry. And then he was like, well, I want to attack the one that just killed Josh. Okay, cool. Attack it. And then he was
one thing that I've done, like, because if I miss a thing, I'm like, oh, shoot. And instead of, like, retconning everything that happened, I'm like, okay, you get to attack with advantage, seeing the death of your ally. Or something like that.
Yeah, I'll do that next time. I'm not sure if I did.
I'm glad you weren't like, is he still dead? Yes, he's still dead.
He's still down. Well, because I already knew what was happening. I heard that I'm sitting right there at the table, so they're already like conjuring like how they're gonna bring him back up, and it's all good, and they had their whole plan.
Yeah.
So I wasn't gonna be like, nah, fuck your plan. I'm fucking. He's back up. It was like, no, you're still down. You're about to come back up. I wanna make you guys sweat. If I'm sweating here, you're sweating with me. So we're gonna sweat together to the fucking beats. Let's do this. And so we sweated. And they made it out alive, and it was a very rewarding moment for them. It was a very stressful moment for me, but it was like having a baby again, and like being like, oh my god, they're walking, and you're like running behind them to make sure they don't fall. You know what I mean? Like that's what it felt like.
All right.
It felt like, oh god, don't fall.
As you're like looking, and you're like, okay, there's a sharp-edged coffee table, and
I made a joke to Peyton and Audrey. I looked at them and I was like, oh my god, I got a case of the crotch sweats. It was so bad. It's like you're so stressed out. You're like, ah.
That's so funny.
The one DM strategy I can never get behind was the 3x5 cards that you keep in order. Like
I can't do that. I'm not organized enough.
But then like you have to go back to your monster cards to write down their hit points every single time, and it just creates a. DC does it. I can't.
Lee, I think, does it too. I think Lee's another one of those like he loves using the cards because then he goes and takes notes and then goes back home and fixes like his like adventure sheets and all that kind of stuff, so it's all organized. Mm-hmm. But I've seen him also doing that and like using it, but I couldn't do that. I could. It would. This was way more like Okay, it's all right here for me. Another thing that I was really fucked up with, and I'm gonna work harder on putting tags next time on stuff, was that I was like, and I didn't have some of my monsters in sheets. So it was like all over the place. Like I had papers everywhere and I was like trying to shuffle. I looked really disorganized. I was really upset with myself.
That's fair. In due time, some of the monsters like I've just memorized. Like your generic guard, the spy, the veteran, any of like the scout. Like I know
some of those I didn't even use because they didn't even attack them. Because there were moments where the characters were like, "We're just gonna go in there," and I'm like, they look at you and they don't look like they're gonna attack you. You can talk. You can go. They look like you could talk to them.
I'm looking for because you've got a stat block for a veteran, and I'm like, where's the veteran? Because this will annihilate a low tier party.
Yeah, the veteran
17
is like,
AC, 58 HP, dude. Multi attack, it's devastating.
Zorba?
Zorba, the vet?
Zordon! Whatever the Zorda. I thought it was Zorda or Zordor or whatever. I think he's got Zordor. I think he's got a homie with him that's walking around.
I don't know.
Well, there's a bandit and a thug here.
The bandit.
This one.
Shifter bandits. It don't matter. It don't matter. I don't care about none of that.
Is it Zorba? I don't remember who Zorba was.
It don't matter.
But anyways, then the ending, I got a little confused. Apparently, this is where they get introduced to Big Mo.
Yeah, so this is part 4. The Presence of the Word. This is the third build, and they can get off that salvage board. Yeah, this is when they head out to the scrapyard. Mm-hmm.
They go out to the scrapyard, and there's a dude that's kind of asking for their help, and he lies, but they didn't roll to see that he was lying, so they roll that they thought he was telling the truth. And he's like saying that his boss sent for them to kind of look into these tunnels that they have to go into. When in reality it was him, because he suspected his boss was doing some dirty shit.
Okay.
And they go and they find out, and Big Mo is again in the epic, and he's supposed to be one of these Titan constructs, right? I didn't realize that when I was reading this. I was a little confused, and Big Mo is they're supposed to, like, I guess Fritz was like, there's like an opening in his arm or something, and then you go and there's tunnels that lead you down from like his body.
So right outside of the town.
I know. The way I read it, I was a little just confused on it, and it was, fair. I thought he was slumped and they would have to push the Warforged out of the way to reveal a tunnel underneath it, is what I thought.
It's almost like the picture we saw with the slumped over Warforged.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't understand what I was reading. That was something that I fucked up. But they still understood that thankfully what was going on. So then they go down. They find out that the Emerald Claw, if you guys don't know who the Emerald Claw is like the terrorist group of Eberron. They're constantly trying to get in charge. They're all a bunch of necromancers. They deal a lot with like dark magics and stuff like that.
The darkest magics.
Cool. They're not good guys in Eberron, and they're like sprawled all over the place to like cause like terrorist attacks. And they normally dwell underground because they were supposed to be like broken up. You know what I mean? Like they're not supposed to be there's no Emerald Claw. Or at least there's not supposed to now. And they're trying to get their king, I forget what his name is, back into ruling of Eberron. And it's not doing so well.
So you go into the secret tunnel. Do you have to move the armor plates of Big Mo, of one of Big Mo's armor plates?
Or Corvarami, not Eberron.
And it's, it's this recently dug out tunnel. And in this tunnel, it gives you like, okay, there's dimensions, there's light. But in the sounds and smells, I like how it says the air reeks of embalming fluid. And I'm like, that's such a good descriptive smell. Like just embalming fluid. And you're talking about like necromancers?
Yes.
That's a fun little like tie-in.
Yeah, cool. Exactly. Now, Irulan is the veteran. So there's a character in here that you're not supposed to really fight. That's why he's got such a high... That's the veteran.
Okay.
So you're really supposed to not fight that character if I remember. So
only because I played a game.
That's right. You're not supposed to fight the. She's the one who you're going after in there. You're not supposed to really run into her. Like if you do, it's because you had more time on the. There's a bunch of crap. Yeah.
Okay.
If you accuse her. And exactly. Thank you, Fritz. If you guys have a chance, I'll read what Fritz writes because he's just explaining it for me. The woman who owns the scrapyard with the big mo who can accuse of bad shit and confront her. If you accuse her, you get a real bad chapter reward. So like you're not. And
all I know
my people accused her because the way I set it up is they go into her office because we were running hella short on time at this point, right? And so like I completely cut the last fucking fight out. I give them 2 fights or a fight with 2 dudes in there to go through the room. They go and they find all this stuff. They find out that she's actually working with the Emerald Claw and all this shit. And then the sheriff is the name of the Warforged comes and finds you guys. And as you guys are kind of going through the pockets of the dude that hired you to go down there and look, and they're like. And then he kind of distracts your group distracts the Warforged with letting them know what's going on with the group. And so he picks up the guy to go give him a proper burial is how I played it off. And then they accuse her and he's like, I'm going to go to where I forget where they're at, somewhere really bad. And the Salvation Hotel. And I'm going to go question her myself and figure this out and arrest her with the documents that you provide for me.
Yeah, I'm reading this little blip, and it's like, warn your players that they are most likely outmatched if they choose to move against her. If they confront her with suspicions, she simply laughs it off. However, if the characters publicly accuse her of being involved with the Emerald Claw or being complicit of Evanzer's death, she decides to make life hard on them. They earn the legacy event, a powerful enemy, at the end of the adventure. Ask the players to tick this event on their adventure.
So my players did pick that, and they clicked on it because they went ahead and ratted her out to sheriff, but they didn't have to fight her because they weren't in front of her. They were at her scrapyard while she was gone. And sheriff was just kind of doing a roundabout is how I played it off. So that way they didn't have to get stuck there. Because I would have ended up going an extra hour. Like I said, we started a half hour late. And so, yeah. But yeah.
Oh, okay. It's not too devastating.
No.
So like, if you do accuse her and do that stuff, you made an enemy of the powerful and wealthy salvage broker, Eberron Carnage. Roll a d20. Depending on what you roll, some things happen. You lose some money. You gain no money. None of the vendors in town like you. And they don't give you any discounts. Or whatever. But that's fun.
So, I mean, it's not a big... It wasn't super heartbreaking for them to accuse her. I think my players all wanted to be like... honest blues and weren't trying to like deceive anybody, and they wanted to make sure they did the right thing. They were all playing like good heroes and wizards and stuff.
Oh, I see. I get it now. That's cool.
Yeah, I didn't want to give away too much. It's a little difficult.
Did you run into any big problems in the 4th part?
Just the end, the way like I said, what I had to do, like I had to like speed through the whole thing. So they ended up, thankfully they rolled really high on their trap, so they missed the poison spray trap.
Okay.
They missed all that stuff, and then they didn't get to meet Irulan, whatever her name is, and they did meet Sheriff, which I played with the stutter.
That's great.
So
drop it. Often. Oh, it's a Warforged that malfunctions slightly when talking, giving her an odd stutter. That's cool. That's really cool.
So yeah, I had a lot of fun. It was great. I got to play the Epic, which I had a lot of fun. Kevin DM'd it, and he made some amazing pieces for it.
Oh yeah.
And then Josh had been playing with Travis and Ellie already and a couple other people in one of the previous campaigns. So those same people came back and I joined that group for the next part of the campaign that was going on. And I kind of got to jump in, and because I DM'd the first part and I got to kind of build that on my character as my DM credit, I took on some of those rewards. So I kind of got to say that I knew some of these things that were going on also, and I got to be a part of it.
Maybe I've done one or two things.
Yeah, and it helped because Josh was at my table on the first game, so our stories were matching when I kind of got to say that I was going in there. And I really enjoyed playing my... I'm enjoying. We'll talk about it more next week. I want to talk more about Eberron and talk about my character that I played, Hida, who's a artificer. Depends, potato. But I wanted to.
You're a heathen, and you're the reason why they're warforged.
She leveled up to 3, and something really cool happened. And I'd like to talk about like the options that are given to the artificer once they reach level 3 and. Sure. What the differences are. So I think it's really awesome.
That's really cool. Yeah. All in all, what is your takeaway from your first DMing experience? Good. On a scale of
I want to do it again.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How would you rate yourself during your DMing, your first time DMing? On a scale of...
Rate myself?
Yeah, on a scale of about maybe 1 to 10.
Everyone's their own worst critic. I gave myself like a 5. It wasn't terrible, but it could
definitely
really,
learn a lot. You think you can do better next time?
Yeah. And Josh gave me a 7.
Okay.
And I thought he was going to be way harder on me. I was like, a 7's fair. If you're telling me what the experience you got from it, then that's fair.
Okay.
But I thought it was generous. He says that my characters and the voices save me.
It's really I enjoy how you kind of embody the characters. That's
I didn't get to say it. So one of the parts I was waiting before we leave. I want to check off with this. One of the parts, the group lets one of the characters go. Remember how I told you? It's because of the way I played it. They were like, he was such an asshole. I didn't want her to have to go back to him. The whole table said that. They're like, he was such a jerk that I felt really bad for her and was like, yeah, you go. I was like, that is awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, it was great.
Cool.
Well,
ready for your question?
Yes. What's the question?
Choose a monster or a spell, because we're at a 50-50 split.
We're at a 50-50?
Oh, 50-50 split.
I'll let you pick. Monster or spell.
Wait. Is there a dice?
No. Oh, yeah.
No dice. How do we not have a dice on the table? Monster.
Monster? Okay. This monster is a CR5.
Okay.
It looks like a giant centipede humanoid creature with a hunched back. It is generally like dirty brown. So it's got like 2 large pincers and it like burrows underground. To describe them, it's an abominable horror from deep beneath the earth. It burrows into caves, complexes, and dungeons, and or underdark settlements in search for food. Those lucky enough to survive an encounter with this remember precious little of the incident thanks to their mind-scrambling gaze.
I know what it is.
I can't remember the name of it. I read about them in a book too, and because
you know what it is.
It's the underground thingies, right? They burrow. Yeah. Oh, dude, we just fight one recently in the. No, that's something different.
No.
Oh God, what are they called? I know exactly what you're talking about.
I'm gonna write my answer down.
I just have to come up with any name at this point.
Yeah, you just have to. It doesn't matter what you say. He can be anything.
They are large monstrosities. They have a multi-attack with 3 attacks, including 2 claw attacks and 1 mandible attack. They have the ability to burrow or be tunnelers, and they have the ability called Confusing Gaze.
That's mine. That's what I think it is. It's that,
I'm sure you know the name of it. I don't know the name of it. I don't know.
Maybe. I could be completely wrong. The moment you said Underdark, I was like...
I know what it is, too, because I know Driss has encountered these things plenty of times when he was coming out.
Here's an image of it.
Name that. What I want to do is I really want to get a silhouette.
Because that's what Clacker was.
No, that's not Clacker. Clacker is is something else. A hooked horror.
Oh, that is he
Clacker
was
is a hooked
You're right.
horror.
You're right. He was a hooked horror.
Do you know? Okay. You've got 20 seconds. You've got 10 seconds on the clock. What do you think it's called?
I don't know. A pincher.
It's called a pincher, everyone. My guess is that it is an Umber Hulk.
Oh, never.
It is an Umber Hulk.
I would have never known.
So, Umber Hulks are fantastic. They're basically the Onkegs. They're basically the Onkegs of the underground of the Underdark. But the hypnotic gaze ability, love that. That's really fun. It F's everyone up.
In Assault on Mirror Midra, you have to fight a minimum of 3 of them in mirrored room. Like, you go into a mirrored cave.
Oh no!
So you can't avert your gaze except to close your eyes
and be blinded.
Yeah,
I love it.
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Be a spellcaster. It sucks. Anyways,
it's one for me.
Recap on tonight.
Oh yes, so again guys, tonight is going to be canceled due to the weather. Our DM Danny will not be able to make it to his screen to be able to run the game, and if we can't have a DM, there is no game.
Debatable. That's one.
I think, but on Roll20, I think that definitely is, if there's no DM, there's no game.
Yeah, that's very true.
I mean, in person, then you'd like, okay, board game, then there is a game.
I want to play more Flashpoint.
What is the one that you do with bad guys, good guys?
There's many names. Generally, or the original game that I played on is called Resistance.
Resistance, because we were talking to Travis about it, and he's never played these, so we have to bring it to the table.
There's Resistance. There's Avalon, which is basically the same game, a little different. I like Avalon better. It's like it's themed. It's Knights of the Round Table.
Yeah, it's like Merlin.
I play as Merlin. I play as. Who's?
You don't know what you play.
Who's the chick with
random?
She's the evil lady. Morgan?
No, Morgana.
Morgana. There we go. I like Morgana. I like Eberron.
Anyways, but yeah, if you guys, thanks again for tuning in. What is this? Satan.
Kingdom Death Monster. What's Kingdom Death Monster?
I don't know. I said we Google it after we were done with
Before, stream. I think. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
No, I just want to say, you give us a follow, give us a like wherever you're watching us. Subscribe.
We're
so
on
many
Twitch,
different things to
Facebook,
do on all these social
Instagram,
medias.
Twitter.
Do all of it.
All of it. I was gonna say
we love you.
Finally, you can get us on Grindr. I got a really terrible story.
I already deleted my account.
I had a terrible story to tell you about that.
Oh.
Anyways, thank you guys so much for tuning in, hanging out. This is Cleric Talk. My name is Michael Gramling, the Bard Creative.
I am Cindy, the High Priestess.
And we'll see you next week. Same time, same place, same Tuesday.
Yeah.
And Ben. There's Ben.
Ben!
Yeah, we have a Ben.